It's time for Transport Line, the program that showcases the contributions of almost of transportation to the socio-economic growth and development of our country, Africa, and the rest of the world. Transport Line is being beamed to you from the Center of Excellence, the state of aquatic splendor, and Africa's second largest economy, Lagos. I am Shina Ilegbede. Glad to know that you are keeping us company. The service tenure extension of the Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, has continued to generate excitement among stakeholders in the maritime sector, especially freight forwarders and shippers. Today, we seek the opportunity to take a cursory look of the achievement of Bashir Adewale Adeniyi since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed him at the CGS of, or CGC rather, of the Nigerian Customs Services. I have with me on set the President of African Association of Professional Freight Forwarders and Logistics of Nigeria to more or less take a cursory look of what the CGC has achieved and the challenges ahead. My guest is Chief Frank Ogunjemite, and is already seated. Frank, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Chief, you've heard that the service tenure extension granted by Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, the CGC of Nigerian Customs Service. You are one of the stakeholders, a prominent one for that matter. But before we look at its challenges in the next 1 year, how do you assess its performance to date?
Thank you for that. First thing is that I will congratulate the Nigerian, the president, and everyone in the country. Because the extension is a progressive decision that the president has taken. If you look at the exceptions of this present man in the industry, it has been very fantastic. Compared to those people who has been before him, we can all see what he's doing. Now, we're talking about a lot of developments in a maritime or customs arena. Prior before his exceptions, we were using Wellfontaine. Aflon advocates a lot that Wellfontaine cannot continue to dominate our economic port operations. Why? Because it's a foreign company, and most what are they doing that Nigerians cannot do? So Adewale has taken bold steps to make sure he introduce our home, which is B Odogu. And that's a service that control the service provider that was control the customs services. It is for so many years it's been run by the foreign in this country, and they've tried to break the gene, they couldn't. Yeah, he break the gene, and the Nigerians have his own local content, which is good. It's going to improve the economy. It's going to stop the capital flight of this country. Because when you employ a foreigner, they will change their money to dollars, and they provide service, the employment for their own citizens. Now this is becoming ours. So now if you look at, again, his present achievement, that it is a very common sense looking at his performance that granting extensions. Nigeria has never been the chairman of WCO. Now he is. And if you have not performed proactively, he's not going to take the positions. Ask me why. Because the man that left there is an African from South Africa. And this is being retained in Africa. That shows the pedigree of his performance in the industry. So kudos to all the citizens of this country, and congratulations to the CG himself, and we appreciate the president to have taken that decision as well.
Thank you very much, Frank. Well, that's a brief assessment of Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi. In the last 2 years, so to say, And now, he has the opportunity, more or less, to concretize all his vision. Not only that he has keyed into the agenda of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but the president too has been gracious enough to appreciate that the man needs a little period to really make sure that all his programs are better implemented in terms of revenue generation, ease of doing business, and trade facilitation. So, how do you see the challenges he's going to face in the next 1 year?
Yeah, you see, he, like I say, is very proactive, and he has prepared for the work. And that's why we agitated that let custom lead the customs, military lead the military. He knows these jobs, and he has opened his door to stakeholders for corrections, for advice and criticism. And when you're a leader that run that, because no matter how good someone, you can never be a warrior without good battalions. So he has chosen his management very well. He has opened his door. He has made sure that he wants to make reformations in the industry. Of course, things, because we have a lot of macro factors affecting the Nigerian economy. And if he has not been performing again, it could be from fire to fire. But not because he is good. You can see him everywhere. You can see he address so many issues. So to me, he's used to it. It's just going to be an opportunity for him to contribute positively to the economic progress of this country. And don't forget that the maritime is a very critical arena. I would say is a catalyst of any country economies. So you must bring a technocrats to work in that arena. And believe me, you can see how the synergy is going with all other government agencies and everything. And the door is opening, and it's very accessible. So if that shows is ready for the work, and I believe no matter what he has established, by that time we'll get over so many things. Now the Biodogo I'm talking about now is towards generating money for the government. And now we don't need to be bothering ourselves about anything. It's just an improvement we needed on this. And that's what I'll give the government, the House of Senate, impetus to have increased the target to 12 trillion. Of course, this is very outrageous because he performed credibly at that time, and they know he can perform better. So, and then we are looking at, okay, if this money is going to be generated, let us look at what can we do to indigenous company that will fast track our export. So if government is generating more money from export, which I think he has tried to establish the ease of doing business to everyone, this is going to increase employment, the revenue, and the country will be able to live large. Before you know, the Naira will begin to be improved. Because if you can look at the percentage or the drink of Naira now, it's too weak. And that's why things are so expensive. And looking at the purchasing power of the people, the inflation did not allow them to breathe. So we need technocrats on most of this area to make sure that things work out fine.
You will recall that CGC had to suspend in the first instance the issue of the 4% because of the way stakeholders in the industry reacted. Now the 4% is back, 7% is back. Don't you see him having a confrontation with the stakeholders?
You see, without making a change, there cannot be change. But one thing I want you to know that this man is sensitive and is very democratic. That's why he's fit for the job from my perspective. Okay, the FOB 4% we are talking is an act passed by the National Assembly. Well, there's no technical review on that before. There is. You understand? And ever before, we have a surcharge, we have VAT, we have CISS, we have all these charges. Of course, why he suspended it, not only because stakeholder reacted, but because the economy was fragile and bleeding, and that is sensitive to the place of the people. That's why it was suspended. But it cannot be abolished because it is in the acts. That's what. So the only thing I think we can do is appeal to the federal government to probably exercise executive order. Because when we are talking about the inflation, we are talking, if you remember in February, or I think it was on April, the Minister of Land Marine had a program summit for us in Mariote. He's talked about 30% reduction in the port costs, port operations. You understand? And coming out with this, you look at it, there's probably not no alignment. But there must be that changes. You understand? So, and it's not that people will get used to the increment, but there will probably be an adjustment, a relief for the people. But my concern and my own take is that let us channel most of the money generated to the indigenous companies. And that's why Nigeria can stand on their own. That's why we can have foreign currencies. And that's where all the effort the government is making can come to fruitful for the citizens of this country.
From the grapevine, we heard that Europe and America, that's United States of America, are making efforts to make Togo the centerpiece of Nigerian, West African ports. And from the look of things, efforts in the past had been made and continue to be made to make sure that Nigeria remains the center of foreign trade facilitation and ease of doing business in West Africa and the Gulf of Guinea. With the way America and Europe clandestinely are making efforts to more or less displace Nigeria, what role do you think or roles the CGC and other stakeholders have to play in making sure that we sustain this tag of being the centerpiece of trade facilitation in West and Central Africa?
Well, thank you. One thing I want to emphasize is that naturally Nigeria is gifted. And with the position of Nigeria among all these countries, we are gifted. What we need to do is to manage our resources and put some things in position. And that's one of the efforts I think government is doing. Because let me tell you something, either they like it or not, we have the populations. And you cannot be bringing your stuff. How will you get your stuff to this country? If you go to Idumota, you see how the African country were buying things and going to their country from this country. Do you understand? So, well, if you remember in 2019, IMF visited Nigeria, hosted by Nigeria Shippers Councils. And that's when the Azan Bello was there. What they said is that they realized that Nigeria is still the center point. But we need to adjust some few things. And some of them is taking place now. One, which is that they needed to do, because the performance of CGC alone cannot revolute the maritime sectors of this country. They need to work together. What I'm saying that one of the problems is transportation, which is infrastructures. Nigeria needs infrastructure. If you living here to Badagry now, which is a border, land border line, the driving is not too smooth. And the government has realized this. They have commenced work there. Now, realize how long it takes us to move container out and in out of the ports. Either out or in out. In fact, out of the country is what more dangerous because of perishable goods in the container that will still like throwaways. But now everything is easy because the road now is being done and the government has classed the shanties on the road. So no matter how the performance of CG, if those things are not put in place, we cannot still become the hub. So the government needs to look at multimodal transportations. What I mean is not only the road, the rates have to effectively be working. We can have a cable transportation where that if I need to get to port and do something, I jump on the cable and I get to the port. So, and government again needs to introduce the port system to the curriculum activities of the children. Let them know what's up in the port, that they can have interest. For instance, as a freight forwarder, I did not learn this from school, but the basic education I've got has led me to this, and that is the evolution of Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding, CRFFN. So we need to put a lot of things together to maintain Nigeria to become hub. Then you talk about security. CGC will not go after this security as well. It only do something that limited to the heart of where it's operating as a Nigeria Customs S-man. So all other apparatus need to put together the infrastructure, the banking system again. When you're talking about being a hub, you pay a duty, it doesn't get there in the next 22 days. Or sometimes the bank service will go for weeks that we have to protect. Sometimes they go. At the end of the day, you are paying rent to the concess shipping and terminal operators. CGs cannot do that. So all of them have to work together, and that's what I realized. The minister said that national single window must be in operations. That everybody has to work in harmony. That's harmonize all of them. So the government has things to do, they have jobs to do before they can make the job of CG easier for him. Otherwise, there will be rivalry and fusions of a role.
Yes, you've more or less indirectly looked at the supporting roles of other agencies in the maritime sector. But the CG see himself as the leadership of Nigerian Customs Services. Talking about container examination, talking about scanners,
Yes.
talking about video checkpoints, containers being cleared inside the ports, and outside you have containers being impounded. Has all this been a history?
You see, this is the compliance between us, the importer, the freight forwarder, and the customs itself. Mostly when container being impounded, there can be intelligent report on it, which they have to impart. And when there's intelligent, it could be statistically reported. That's not all. But sometimes those who are not part of the report could be as well, to make sure that they do holistic report on this. That's one thing I want you to know. Then, issue of scanner. What they needed to do, there's a scanner already. What they need to do is to invest more on the scanner and train people on the use of the scanner. This has been sorted out before it came in, and I think these things are working. So that's why we're talking about training. That's why we're talking about other things that evolve. And if you be stop on the road, which I don't think there's nothing wrong for you to even stop on the road, because technologically, Nigeria too have to continue to improve. And even in abroad, they do physical search examinations as well.
Complete 100%.
Yes.
When the situation demands.
Well, the situation demand. So it crimes all over the world, but we have to continue gradually to improve the maritime system. And however, he is doing his best to make sure, because I tell you, I can't tell you how many times this man will be in the PTM and Papa have a meeting with us. We have never enjoyed this. We look at CG to has gone as a ghost, because you cannot even identify themselves. But look at this man, he's on ground. He's very accessible. He wants to make sure he creates a legacy that will last forever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank Ogunjemite.
Thank you for having me.
For giving us your own assessment of the CGC, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, and the challenge is going to face in the next 1 year, and more or less the way forward. We hope and pray that all these stakeholders in the maritime sector will continue to extend hands of fellowship to him, so that Nigeria will continue to move forward. Again, thank you very much for coming to the program.
Thank you. I'll be here again.
Before we round up, we look into the realm of transport line news tidbit. Today, we're going to bring you a report of I call it misunderstanding among some freight forwarders. Nagav on one side, and on the other side is Ankla being led by others. Focal point of disagreement, whether you like it or not, is the Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarders in Nigeria. The Nagav president called a press conference, and Transport Line was there. Here is the brief report on it.
The National Association of Government-Approved Freight Forwarders, NAGAF, has called for the deregistration of 4 freight forwarding associations for alleged sabotage of government reforms in the marine and blue economy sectors and failure to fulfill their statutory financial obligations to the Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, CRFFN, amongst others. Addressing the media, the NAGAF president, Tochukwu Ezisi, also implored the government to investigate the 4 freight forwarding associations for alleged economic and regulatory sabotage.
Despite these distractions, NAGAF remains proud of the performance of the current registrar, Mr. Kingsley Igwe. In under a year, he has shown exceptional leadership, including expanding CRFFN's funding beyond POF to improve financial sustainability, commenced training of 1,000 freight forwarders in 2025, an unprecedented capacity building initiative, which has seen a successful training of 300 freight forwarders already. Driving digital modernization and stakeholder collaboration to strengthen CRFFN's regulatory rule.
You're welcome back. I want to thank you for being part of the program. But before we draw the curtain, please continue to be your brother's keeper. Be compassionate. Continue to lend a helping hand to those who are around you, your families, your friends, and even those who don't even know. If they come to you for assistance, gladly oblige. And if you can't, your response should be humane, so that they too will feel belong. Well, compassion is the key word. Till next time, bye-bye for now.